Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are going to have a bit of discussion on just how huge Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to be. I think Nintendo has big plans for this game, and we're seeing a variety of signs for that. Now, personally, I've always felt that this game was going to be a big deal, because the Metroid Prime games have always been big deals. And when they restarted this project and announced that to us back in January of 2019, they told us that they were going to make this game measure up to the quality of the original Metroid Prime, which is considered to be one of the greatest games ever made, at least from a critical acclaim perspective. And so I've held on to this thinking all this time. But now that we've finally gotten our first true look at Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, we actually have some footage, I'm starting to feel more validated on this thinking. But it's not even just that, it's how Nintendo is treating Metroid Prime 4, and with everything we've heard in terms of the kind of talent that's working on this game. I think Nintendo is going above and beyond with Metroid Prime 4. This is meant to be a big push for Metroid, and we're in for a very exciting game, so that's what I would like to talk more about today. But before going forward, let me ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now, apologies if my voice sounds a little bit off, I am a little bit under the weather, it's been a rough few days, but we're trying to power through, and I still want to talk about this, so here we are. And I actually decided to talk about this today because yesterday, Chris Scullion of VGC, Video Games Chronicle, put out this article summarizing everything we know about all the different talent that's working at Retro Studios, the different hires that have come on over the years, and just the amount of talent that has still been retained over the years. And looking through it, it's extremely impressive. Some things that were summarized in this article, around half the full-time developers that were working on Metroid Prime 3 were still at Retro Studios. But also they brought on a lot of talent from Halo and Call of Duty, which I think is very interesting because this kind of talent is AAA talent, working on first-person shooting games. Games that have a lot of sci-fi elements that are highly reminiscent of the Metroid series. There's been so many comparisons to the Halo games. It's a very wide appealing mainstream game. They have the campaigns but also the multiplayer modes. And perhaps multiplayer could be in the cards for Metroid Prime 4. One of these notable hires is Bharadwaj Bhatt Nandakumar. Hopefully I pronounced the name correctly, I'm sorry if I butchered it a little bit. But they joined Retro in 2020 as a lead engineer, and they had mostly worked on the Call of Duty games, and they specialize in online tools and gameplay programming. The online part has me very curious about what might be possible for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, of course, this does not confirm that there would be an online segment in Prime 4 Beyond, but it has me thinking, it gets me wondering. Something quick to note here, we don't know if all of this talent was working specifically on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, just at Retro Studios, but what else could Retro Studios be working on? I'm sure they're maybe already getting started on their next project as well, but still, a lot of the talent here very clearly is working on Metroid Prime 4. Looking at some of the artists they have involved here, Chris Lewis, a senior environmental material artist from Halo 4, 5, and Halo Infinite. Or Chris Hahn, the associate art director, who worked on Anthem, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Star Wars The Old Republic. These are such great fits. But one particular hire that has me fairly extra curious here is Will Petrosky, a senior environment artist. They worked on God of War Ragnarok and a variety of Call of Duty games. Now when it comes to Call of Duty games, okay, these are shooters, a lot of multiplayer maps, maybe that gives us a little bit more hope from that perspective, but also simply in terms of designing environments that are fitting for a first-person environment that's fast-paced. There's been a lot of talk that the Metroid Prime games in terms of Samus's movement should be made more fast-paced, and perhaps constructing the environments with that in mind, there could be something there, so the environmental artists may be playing a role in that. But what I might find even more interesting is not the Call of Duty experience, but the God of War Ragnarok experience. An absolute megaton, huge, high-quality game. And the way the world is structured in God of War Ragnarok might be a good direction for how they should take Metroid Prime 4. And this is actually a point made by Dave, SuperMario Dave64, during our discussion we had on the channel a few days ago. But the thing about God of War Ragnarok is that it's showcasing this beautiful world, and it has scope, it makes it feel massive, but it's really going from like one area to another, kind of like room to room, very much like a Metroid game. And so if the environmental artists are working on the game with this in mind, that could bode well for the overall feel of this game, because Metroid probably can't be open world, but can they still evoke a massive adventure? Yes, and this might be the best way to go about it. And I would say in the case of this style of gameplay, it would be better for it. And so just looking through the designers, through the artists, they've hired some incredible talent. People who've worked on Pixar, people who worked with Naughty Dog, and even looking at some of their engineers, people have worked with Rockstar Games, Bethesda. They still have retained a lot of their impressive talent from Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Metroid Primes 2 and 3. We're just looking at a star-studded lineup here. It's extremely impressive. But something else I'd like to note is when it comes to music. The trailer had some really good bits. The opening fanfare, that really cool guitar riff when Salix came on stage, and especially the very end of the trailer during the forest scene. The music played there, to me, is just so beautiful, and it feels like some of the most classic tunes we've heard from the Metroid Prime series that have me still listening to them even today. And so many are speculating that Kenta Yamamoto is still working on the music for Metroid. They worked on the music for the prior Metroid Prime games, and I think they likely are returning here. They helped out with Prime Remastered, they even helped out with Metroid Dread, so I would say it's likely that with this game, and how huge it appears to be based off all the hires, that they're definitely going to bring back Yamamoto and try to deliver their best work yet. And from what we've heard so far, that first trailer, while it might be a small sample size, that small sample size already has me convinced that we're in for a real banger here when it comes to music for Metroid. So it looks like Nintendo's going above and beyond with this game. They have hired the kind of talent for Retro Studios that can put together the best that the Western talent has to offer. But it's not even just a Western talent, this is a collaborative effort. Kensuke Tanabe is still the Prime producer, who has worked on all the Prime games, and I'm sure Nintendo has been paying close attention to this game, making sure it's going to reach the quality they needed to reach. That's why they restarted the project in the first place, because they wanted this to be an incredible game. And you look at how they treated it during the Direct. It was the closer. Typically the closer is like that really big, most exciting game. Let's look at some recent Directs. The last Shadow Direct closed with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door Remake, which was the most significant game during that presentation. Before that, it was Mario Wonder. Before that, it was Tears of the Kingdom. And so what was the closer for this one? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, a Direct that had things like The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, the first new 2D top-down Zelda in many years. The return to the Mario and Luigi series, the first proper console entry, a series that people weren't sure would ever come back. And also, Super Mario Party Jamboree, the sequel to Super Mario Party, which sold over 20 million copies and is being touted as the biggest Mario Party game to date. Nintendo chose to put Metroid Prime 4 Beyond as a closer in a Direct with those kinds of games. I think that says a lot. And I've already discussed before how I feel that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a cross-gen title, and when we saw the 2025 date, that strengthened my beliefs. I was open to the idea of maybe it being a 2024 game, but by them positioning it for a 2025 game, I think it's because it is meant to be a 2025 release during the Switch 2 window. And considering all of the effort they're putting behind this game, I think they're going to want to maximize sales potential here. This has not been cheap. They've been working on this for years. They have some of the best AAA talent throughout the industry. It's been expensive, and so they're going to want to maximize here and put this game out on both consoles, the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. And with how high quality of a game it is, I think Nintendo's going to be pushing it, hence why we saw it as the closer during the Direct. And from the efforts we're seeing here, I think they're definitely going to meet expectations, and it's going to be an incredible game. I think they are going above and beyond. And maybe that has something to do with why they chose that title. Because it's not just about what the story or gameplay might be about, but about the effort going into this game. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andres Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.